Well, this one's going to be about what's wrong with gravity. And I might have to do a couple of videos and name one, what's wrong with dark energy, what's wrong with dark matter. But the truth is, and to me it's just so simple, um, the truth is that dark matter, dark energy, and gravity are all connected and all part of the same thing. The same way fundamental forces are electromagnetism, it has a pull and a push. What makes you think gravity wouldn't have a push as well as a pull when everything is supposed to have an equal and opposite reaction? For a while, science has been looking for a theory of unification and a theory that combines general relativity with quantum physics. Okay, and that's the laws of the very big and the very small. All right, but with new information that Einstein didn't even have about um, the particle collider information and what protons are made out of, and now we know in that it's a zoo of particles basically, and everything is probably going to continue to get smaller and smaller the more we have the better technology to actually see that far into it. The same way, looking out into space, if you just focus on a dark region, completely black, nothing there, leave the lens open for a long exposure, you will see light coming in. And I think it'll go on for way longer than we think. But trying to help you understand what gravity is and why Newton was wrong, even though his formula was so close to being correct, it's not exactly true, because we can't explain why the moon is slowly moving away from Earth. Doesn't make sense with Newton being right. And the bottom line is gravity pushes and pulls. The fact that you're stuck to the Earth right now is because you're getting sucked more than you're getting pushed. Period. And if you look at gravity assisted slingshot effects, or if you remember the movie Armageddon, where the space shuttle swung around the moon to get more speed to catch up with the comet as it came towards Earth. Why does that work in such a good way? It doesn't make sense. We factor in, okay, you're approaching a large object, so you're getting pulled towards it. And as you're getting pulled towards it, you're going faster now. So when you sling around it, you're moving so much faster that the gravity of the planet, it doesn't have enough time to hold it and slow it down, so it gets sped up. But when we factor in that, it still doesn't make sense why things get sped up unless I'm right and gravity pushes as well as pulls. So to me, it just seems really silly, sorry guys, that you would think there's a dark energy out there that's causes unknown. Where does it come from? We don't know. How did it get there? We don't know. Well, it's pushing things away, so it must be there. Yeah, the inflation is happening and there is a pushing force. But why don't you just assume that pushing force is a part of gravity? All right. Um, Now to get into a little more, you see, this is a proton. It's made up of things that are orbiting around each other. All right? And the same way you have an atom and the electrons are orbiting around it, and you have different makeups. Okay, and this is a hydrogen atom, one proton, one electron orbited. And remember that proton is not just a dot. That proton itself is made up of orbits. And so if you want to look at that up quark, once we can get into the up quark, it's probably made of more things orbiting each other. Now, the thing to focus on, I think. One is that on the periodic table, different arrangements of the same fundamental particles, protons, electrons, neutrons. That's all this is. All of it. So why does one make a metal and one make a gas and one make something else? But deeper than that, the atomic weights don't make sense. If you looked at hydrogen, it's one proton, one electron, and you look at helium, it's two protons, two neutrons, two electrons, and you start doing the math and trying to guess and assume what is the actual damn weight of a proton, an electron, and a neutron. The math does not make sense. Okay, so what that tells me is that it's not just the protons, neutrons, and electrons that have weight to them, or it would all be even. Like if we were measuring quarters or something, you put more quarters together, you can know exactly how much it'll weigh because you know how much one weighs. So you would know how much 10 weighs or 100 weighs. That doesn't apply to the chart. Why? Because in this proton, or okay, you could say in the proton itself, or in the atom structure themselves, it's the arrangement of these particles, so to speak, that give rise to the different forces, the different things. Okay, so what is the strong nuclear force that holds the neutrons and protons together in the center? Well, couldn't it just be the orbit of the particles it's made out of? And it just makes sense. It's different fundamental particles and elements. They have different characteristics as far as gravity and how much gravity they create, how close gravity they create. Like the strong nuclear force, that's pretty much just gravity, but only down in the nucleus. And so that strong force, it doesn't travel further and out past the nucleus. Okay? And the same way, okay, magnets and electromagnetism, there's a flip side. And why this flip side exists, it's kind of just built into nature. Why, when you make a motor, you have a coil, and you put electricity to the magnets around it, you spin the coil inside, you have a motor. You take that same setup, you spin the coil inside with an outside force, you're now creating electricity. You see how that goes both ways? And other fundamental things connecting, like why the Doppler effect with sound in our ears that we can hear when a train goes connects to the electromagnetic spectrum and light, and we see blue and red shift in stars. It's the same thing, and why those things are connected, science didn't have an explanation for that. The same way they really don't have an explanation for dark matter or dark energy, or but if you can see what I'm saying, you can just, it's so easy. Why make up something like dark matter and dark energy when you probably don't fully understand gravity? And so that's my video. There's another video I made, and it's in private mode right now, but I might just let that one go back to the public again. But there was one small fact in there that about the hydrogen atom, where I didn't say it was a proton and electron. I said the proton had a neutron also. But besides that one fact, the rest of the video is right, so I might re-release that to the public. So I'm just putting this out there to try to help people that kind of don't follow along the sheep scientific standard quote. And professors and things, they're locked into a certain way of teaching, and they can't just teach whatever they want and come up with theories and spread those ideas. They have to stay teaching a certain curriculum. If you signed up to be a string theory professor, you have to stick to teaching string theory, even if that professor has a revelation of a better theory or something. So I'm not locked into those things, and just being into science and everything my whole life and finding it interesting as an adult and just watching documentaries for fun, I see probably something that's closer to truth than dark energy and dark matter being something that we don't know where it comes from. It comes from the orbits of the tiny particles, and gravity pushes as well as pulls, and that's as simple as I can put it. All right, peace.